It's amazing how, like when a big political figure dies, a former president, it kind of makes everybody stop and think for a second, even their rivals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're going to deep dive into some of the reactions to former President Jimmy Carter's passing.
Okay.
Specifically, we're looking at President-elect Trump's response on Truth Social.
Okay.
And kind of using a CBS News segment featuring political reporter Toyin Small to help guide us through this.
Right.
And it's interesting stuff, especially given their history.
Yeah. What's really fascinating here is this kind of unexpected turn from Trump.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Trump has openly mocked Carter in the past, even comparing, their legacies unfavorably just a few months ago around Carter's 100th birthday.
Yeah.
And yet his statement on Truth Social was surprisingly respectful, even suggesting a sense of, debt and gratitude for Carter's service.
Yeah, it definitely caught my attention, too.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the kind of rhetoric we're used to seeing from him, especially towards a Democrat.
Right.
So is this genuine reflection or a calculated move? I mean, what's the strategy here?
That's the million-dollar question. Could this be an attempt at image management as he prepares to re-enter the White House?
Okay.
Maybe a way to present a more presidential persona,
right,
appealing to a broader base beyond his core supporters.
And if it is a calculated move, do you think it'll work?
Yeah.
I mean, can a single statement really reshape public perception, especially given Trump's track record?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Right.
Public image is a complex thing.
Yeah.
And we live in a world where, every move is scrutinized and analyzed.
Yeah.
But it is worth noting that Toyin Small in the CBS segment emphasizes this concept of a president's lasting legacy.
Right.
The idea that their impact extends far beyond their time in office.
Right.
It's a concept that Carter himself embodied through his post-presidency work, particularly with Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah, that's true. Carter's dedication to service, even after leaving the political stage, has been, widely praised.
Yeah.
Do you think this idea of legacy is what's prompting this more contemplative side of Trump? Maybe he's thinking about how he wants to be remembered.
It's possible, yeah, and it's particularly relevant when you consider the specific example Small brings up, the Panama Canal deal.
Right.
Carter, of course, negotiated the treaty to return control of the canal to Panama.
Right.
A move that Trump has openly criticized, stating his desire to regain U.S. control.
Yeah.
This difference in perspective really highlights the stark contrast in their approaches to foreign policy.
Yeah.
And perhaps even how they view their own roles on the world stage.
That's a great point. It's almost like a microcosm of their broader ideological divide.
Yeah.
Carter emphasizing diplomacy and international cooperation versus Trump's America First agenda. And it makes you wonder, if Trump is truly reflecting on legacy, is this respectful tone towards Carter a sign of change or just a temporary blip?
Well, Smollett suggests that while the passing of a former president might prompt some introspection, it's unlikely to fundamentally alter someone's deeply ingrained political beliefs.
Okay.
Especially someone as outspoken as Trump.
Right.
His history of using social media for mocking and trolling Democrats, particularly on platforms like Truth Social, makes it hard to imagine a complete transformation,
Yeah.
It really begs the question, does a president's approach to foreign policy, like with the Panama Canal, actually play a significant role in shaping their legacy?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have Carter, the diplomat,
right,
prioritizing international cooperation, negotiation.
Yeah.
And then you have Trump, the deal maker, putting America's interests first, even if it ruffles some feathers globally.
Yeah.
Two very different approaches, both leaving their mark.
Right.
What do you think, though? I mean, does history tend to favor one approach over the other?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Right.
To answer definitively, It's almost like comparing apples and oranges.
Right.
Both Carter and Trump have their own unique set of accomplishments and challenges.
Right.
Carter, despite facing economic turmoil and the Iran hostage crisis, achieved significant breakthroughs in foreign policy with the Camp David Accords and the Panama Canal Treaty.
Yeah.
Trump, on the other hand, while known for his, aggressive trade tactics and withdrawal from international agreements, also brokered those historic peace deals in the Middle East.
So it's not necessarily about the approach itself, but rather the results it yields.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even then, judging the long-term impact of those results can be incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Take the Panama Canal Treaty, for example.
Okay.
At the time, it was seen by some as a concession, a sign of weakness.
Right.
But decades later, many view it as a crucial step in fostering a more stable and prosperous relationship with Latin America.
Makes you think about how these legacies will be viewed decades from now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Will Carter's focus on human rights and global cooperation be seen as naive idealism or as a visionary path not fully realized?
Yeah.
And will Trump's America First stance be remembered as a necessary course correction or a dangerous turn towards isolationism?
It's a good question, and it's not just future historians we're talking about.
Right.
These contrasting legacies are already influencing the current political landscape.
Yeah.
We're seeing a resurgence of nationalism and populism globally, and Trump's approach, whether you agree with it or not, has certainly contributed to that trend.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's a growing movement advocating for a return to multilateralism and global cooperation, drawing inspiration from figures like Carter.
Yeah, it's almost like these two figures represent two different paths forward for America's role in the world.
Yeah.
One emphasizing diplomacy and global engagement.
Right.
The other prioritizing national interests and a more assertive posture. And it's not just about foreign policy either. These contrasting approaches extend to domestic issues as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Carter, known for his focus on social justice and environmental protection, championed policies like the creation of the Department of Education and the expansion of national parks.
Okay.
Trump, on the other hand, focused on deregulation, tax cuts, and a more conservative social agenda.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating study in how different ideologies can shape not just a presidency, but the direction of an entire nation.
Yeah, it really highlights how both these presidents, despite their differences, really shaped the landscape of American politics.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, is there anything we can learn from their contrasting styles, their successes and failures, that could help us navigate the political challenges we face today?
Yeah, it's an important question.
Right.
And I think it's key to remember that leadership isn't just about, policy decisions. It's also about tone, about how you communicate with the people you represent. Yeah. Carter, for example, was often criticized for being too idealistic, too focused on morality in a world of real politic.
Yeah.
But that same idealism also inspired a generation of human rights activists. And helped to elevate the issue of global poverty onto the international stage.
Yeah, and Trump, while certainly effective at rallying his base and disrupting the status quo, was often accused of being divisive and inflammatory in his rhetoric. That kind of approach might be effective in the short term, but does it ultimately contribute to a healthy political discourse?
It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the one hand, you want a leader who is strong and decisive. Who can clearly articulate their vision and inspire action. But you also need a leader who can unite. Who can build bridges and find common ground. Even with those who hold opposing views.
It's like we're constantly searching for that sweet spot. Between pragmatism and idealism. Between standing firm on your principles and being willing to compromise for the greater good.
Absolutely. And it's made even more complex in today's world. Where social media amplifies every statement, every misstep, and can easily create echo chambers that reinforce existing biases.
It brings us back to Toyin Small's point about Trump's statement potentially being a temporary deviation from his usual social media behavior, which is often characterized by mocking and trolling opponents.
It does raise the question of whether someone can truly separate their online persona from their actions as a leader. Can you champion civility and respect while simultaneously engaging in divisive rhetoric online?
Yeah, it's a question that goes beyond any one individual. It's a question we all face in this digital age. How do we navigate the complexities of online communication while maintaining a sense of integrity and fostering a productive political dialogue?
It's a challenge for sure. But I think the key takeaway here, as we reflect on the contrasting legacies of presidents like Carter and Trump, is that leadership is not a one-size-fits-all proposition. Different approaches can yield different results, and it's up to us, as informed citizens, to critically evaluate those approaches and determine what kind of leadership we want to see in the future.
So as we continue to grapple with the challenges of the 21st century, perhaps the most valuable lesson we can take from this deep dive is the importance of understanding the nuances of leadership.
Yeah.
Recognizing that there's no single right way to lead.
Right.
And being willing to engage in thoughtful, respectful dialogue about the kind of future we want to build.
Yeah, great discussion.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.